It always comes to this. More nice. Hello there guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I'd been talking about my my highlighted, I guess, third pass in places sleeve. I believe I was talking about that. Like now I'm like, I hope I made that video. I honestly don't even remember at the time. I make these, I edit them, but I do all of that kind of throughout the week, and then I'm like, oh, I guess I did do that one. I just have a really busy schedule, so it's easy for me to forget where I'm even at with these. Hopefully one day I'll get better at that. But anyway, yeah, the last thing I had done was the high points and touch-ups in the black and red on some parts of the sleeve. As you can see, the white edges on the roses came out really, really great. You know, it's no surprise to me at this point. Just about whatever the hell we think is going to happen happens. Again, I was talking about how the hand didn't go as well as I would have hoped, but that wasn't surprising either. It's terrible tissue, no real shock there. But like, considering this was a black arm, we got pretty amazingly crisp imagery here. It's a little bit dry right now. I did lotion this morning, but I've had my jacket on and all this stuff, so I had another session yesterday. Finally, I had another session with Rick. I say finally, like it's been 2 years or something, but he and I pretty well have a fixed date night every week. You know, we've been doing Mondays every week for the last year. Before that, it was Wednesdays almost every week. You know, and we go back so far that, you know, you miss a few weeks and it's almost like you're out of rhythm. Even he was like, I think he was nervous that I was going to start this or finish my other sleeve, because I've already got it started with Terry because of how fast he executed this sleeve. And there were some jokes around the shop that I would be doing that sleeve with Terry in the long run after I got done with the roses, but Terry just doesn't have the same style or the same ability to, I don't know if it's not that he can't do the tattoo, but he can't conceptualize this. So while Terry's a great tattooer, his scope just isn't quite large enough or grand enough, or his designs don't really get as intricately detailed. They're usually always a little more simple. That's for the better and the worse in this case, because his work ethic and his approach to tattooing is very appealing. But for this, I need kind of I need an old school badass in a way. I know a lot of people liked the roses more than the chest. Some people didn't like the roses at all and thought the chest was cool. But the left arm is a bit of both. So in saying that, we laid out a lot. Some of the lines came out a lot darker. It is what it is. I don't know exactly what to say with that, other than that my arm is probably better in different places than others. But overall, they came out dark enough that they're going to stick around. Hopefully we won't have to take weeks off in between. And hopefully we can get right after this, because last time we had such a delay. But even with the delay, you'll see that the lines have stayed. When the light shifts, it is harder to see, but everything is there, and it's a lot more visible than what my chest piece was. So all this stuff is pretty easy to imagine that we can find it and shade it in. Again, as I've mentioned, I want this to be more like sort of like black and gray with color. A good a good parallel for that would be like what my chest piece was, or like my head piece, where it's mostly grayscale or blacks and whites, and then color accents. So, for example, it's going to be hard for people to know what any of this is, but what we have here is we have a hand on the inside and a hand on the outside, and then a cluster of tentacles. There's going to be more tentacles, and then down the road, in between the tentacles, we'll be breaking up the areas that aren't filled in with tentacles and hands and other anatomy with red velvet behind everything. So it will all be set on a red velvet background like my other sleeve and like my neck. So for the people wondering how it's all going to tie in, there's your hint on that. That being said, that's going to be a long project, that sleeve, because like even when we're laying it out, the lines went quick, and Rick is an efficient tattooer when he's tattooing. Everything around the tattoo is a little bit inefficient. Like getting to the actual tattoo is a bit of a fuck around, but once he gets the machine in hand and gets going, the man moves pretty quick. So we made pretty rapid progress. That was a lot to lay out, though, and the tentacles are hand drawn, and so are the hands, no pun intended. He had some reference material, but none of that is copied. You won't be able to find any of this online. This is all like custom stuff, and a lot of it is going to be drawn on too. Parts of this is drawn on. It was important to Rick that the arm bended with my arm. He likes things like that a lot, like little details like that, like the drop shadows. When he's putting drop shadows on my chest and my armpits and stuff like that, like those are the things that he enjoys the most. He's a nerd in his own way. So Terry doesn't really think of those things the same way Rick does. So if I were to do this project with Terry, it would probably be a little less inspired, which is to say he would get it done quicker, and it might be bolder, but I don't think it would be as full of character. Now, this is all one piece, so all of this is going to tie into the top. We had done a lot, and we spent a long time just pissing around, getting the stencils on, and getting this drawn out and everything. So we were at the shop for 5 or 6 hours for this, and we do this on our day off. So it's a Monday at the shop. We're closed on Mondays, so it's just me and Rick usually. So we spent most of the day here just podcasts and tattoos, you know, shooting the shit, talking about whatever the fuck. But you know, I'm thinking that we're gonna move a little faster on the sleeve than I originally thought, because Rick is super into this piece. Like he was into the chest too, but I think he likes the fact that there's nothing you have to work around. This is essentially an empty canvas. You know, once I realized that you can pretty well make whatever image you want over black, the whole thing flipped from I have multiple bodysuits fully tattooed to I have no tattoos. You know, so like you're looking at yourself and you have a full black sleeve, and if it's settled, you're essentially sitting with a naked arm. You can do whatever you want there. So I've been saving these arms for a long time, and I'm gonna be as patient as I need to get it done right, which means, as I've said before, I plan on this sleeve taking probably between 50 and 70 sessions. You know, lower end would be 30. I want it to be that kind of a sleeve where it's incredibly detailed and incredibly elaborate and inspired. I don't want to take shortcuts. I don't want to do anything half-assed, and things will be having to be done more than once. I explained in another video here a few weeks ago that these are more or less ghost lines. They're more or less just a stencil lines. So when we go to fill this in, there will be places where the lines will be done again or boldened or changed. This is just a guideline so that we can get going faster when he goes to shade it in. I think the approach is most likely going to be something like doing sections of it, like say working from the top down, doing say a chunk like that every session of the white and black. You can always do the color highlights later, but it's important to do the white and black together, as I've gone on and on about. When you do the shading for white and black, it really should be done at the same time, or else they seem to lighten up too much. So lighten and darken too much. And then it's harder to, say, come back 4 weeks later and do the white after the black is healed. My left arm, I believe, has more scar tissue in it than my right arm. I can't confirm that 100%, but it's definitely more painful to be tattooed in my left arm than it was my right arm. Not that it really makes a difference, and even if it was hurting me a lot, I wouldn't care. I'd do it anyway. But just full disclosure, the 2 sessions I've had on my left arm have hurt more than any of the sessions I had on my right arm, like per minute. Obviously, when I've done some 6-hour sessions on this arm, you know, you get to a place where it's it gets more painful by the end. But right away, the beginning, when we first start lines, this arm has been more painful to saturate. So down the road, I'm sure that will only intensify. But in saying that, I told Rick yesterday, I actually think that sitting for my chest was easier than either of my arms. So I don't know if it's just that my chest doesn't have a lot of pain receptors or feeling left in it, or what the case is, but I found the chest very pleasant in contrast to either arm. And the other nice thing about getting your chest or even your stomach and ribs tattooed is it doesn't do much to you afterwards. You just kind of put your shirt on and forget about it. Where when I was doing, say, the first pass of the red on this arm, and even somewhat the second pass, the heavy shading made my arm look pretty wild for a couple days, chunky and thick, and to a place where a lot of people would be concerned. Of course, I wasn't, and I had no reason to be. But not also, when you have your chest tattooed, unless you're in some extreme sort of pain, you can more or less go back to working out a day or two later. But with a heavy saturation arm tattoo, you'll end up taking a couple days extra off working out. So I've been beating my body up a bit harder than I was last year, so I'm still going pretty hard on fitness stuff. I'm still getting my routine in, but I'm not going full savage like I was a few times last year, because I wasn't working on my arms last year. So now I've got my body healing for all kinds of different reasons. So I'm still making progress in that regard, but it's probably not going to be as fast. Anyway, I'm yammering now. So we did probably about 2.5 hours of lines. There's quite a bit lined out here, and none of this is going to make any sense, and people are just going to have to trust me for now. But the arm is looking cool already. I already like that there's some texture there. It's only going to get better. And again, this is just going to be one of those things that people are going to have to take my word for. I proved my point with my other arm and my chest and my torso already, so I'm really hoping by now I've done enough to earn the faith of my followers that this will be okay. Alright, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.